Hi everyone, for tonight's Nightcap and review, I'm having an adult beverage, and tonight I'll be discussing Dragonbound by Sam Hall. I did receive this as an ARC from Handbrake PR. Of course, I'm giving my honest opinion. These are the highlights and the content warnings. And my rating for this book is 4 stars, so what's it about? So this book is about Lady Fern, who is just hoping to make it through the day and hopefully end up with a suitor who could end up loving her for who she is. But after sneaking down and hearing their hurtful comments, she ends up running into the forest, where she runs into the most unlikely of creatures, a dragon. But not just any dragon, a gold queen dragon named Oren. Oren, like Lady Fern, is done with the expectations the men in her life are setting for her and her future, with Lady Fern being expected to enter into a loveless marriage with a cruel man, and Oren being expected to be a brood mare to produce dragons for the kingdom. Together, they decide to become a bonded pair so that they can report to the royal keep as a bonded pair and claim land for themselves that would allow them the freedom to decide their own futures. But when they get to the royal keep, they are informed that it is only after being enlisted for a year, proving their bond, will they be awarded land. With no other choice and confident in their bond, they decide to enlist. But before they have a chance to adjust to life at the keep, something impossible happens. 3 silver dragons thought to be extinct land in the courtyard, equipped already with riders whose sole purpose is to claim Fern and Oren for themselves. But it's not just these men who have their eye on Fern and Oren, as there is another charming rider who awakens feelings in Fern that she never expected. But Fern and Oren are not going to let any of these men and their dragons get in the way of them deciding their own futures for themselves. So what are my thoughts? Again, I'm giving this 4 stars. Now, first and foremost, this book was entertaining. I absolutely love the dragons in this book, especially Oren, who is our female main dragon, who refuses to take shit from humans and dragons alike, who would like her to mate with whoever they say so that she can produce eggs for the kingdom, and she is not having it. Now, the dragons in this book have a sort of bond that is more like a friendship soulmate kind of bond, not a romantic kind of bond to the people they are bonding with. So I absolutely loved her relationship with Fern. It was kind of like an overprotective big sister vibe, which I absolutely adored, because Fern, after how she grew up extremely sheltered and basically being browbeaten by her mother, she's trying to come out of her shell, but to have Oren in her corner just backing her up was just an amazing relationship, so I definitely enjoyed that. Now, as this is a why choose, a lot of people might expect this to be spice heavy, but actually this is very much a slow burn with what little spice there is towards the end. Now, I will say I do have some minor critiques of the book. Now, again, this book was very much entertaining, but one of the marketed tropes is that it is an enemies to lovers, and this is nowhere near close to an enemies to lovers. These men are absolutely gaga for Fern and her dragon almost immediately, even before they show up to the keep. They are there to pursue her and pursue her aggressively. And Fern, who is just very naive and sheltered, just has these 4 aggressive men pursuing her that she has no idea what to do, that she just runs off every time they try to get her attention. It very felt much like the dragons and a little buddy. So it is definitely not an enemies to lovers, but it is definitely a he falls first times 4. Now, I will also say the first half of this book felt very rushed, like a novella almost, where we're just going bam, 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 let's get to as much as we can, when this is a 500-page book. So I just felt like it needed to slow down so I could bond with these characters, especially because the meeting with Oren and Fern, this is nowhere near close to how the author wrote it. And I'm not saying that this to invalidate the feelings that Fern and Oren have with their situation. Those are completely valid. But because it was bam, 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 it very much felt like, I don't like my family. I don't like my family either. We should bond and run away. Oh my God, we should. Oh my God, if we bond, we get land. We should get land, and it should be by a lake. Oh my God, let's bond. Let's do it. So I was just shaking my head at them, because it felt like pissed off teenagers, where if we had been allowed to really sit with these characters, I feel like that scene could have been a little bit more mature. Now, I will also mention I tend to get pre-released arcs, so I usually can overlook editing issues. This is a post-release arc, and I will say there were some issues with editing, with spelling, sentence structure, and some other things that typically I am willing to overlook. But I do want to mention it for anyone who is looking to read this, where you cannot look past that. If you're looking for a book for entertainment, this is definitely a book you should check out. So I hope you give it a try. It is currently available, and I hope everyone has a good night and happy readings.